Hi, my name is Adwoa, and I'd like to share my story with you on how I stopped taking drugs. My parents worked in the same company. My father was an architect, and my mom worked as a secretary in the company. They both had a huge crush on each other. Well, my dad did more than my mom. They fell in love, and later on, my father proposed to my mother. They got married, and my mother got pregnant with me. Yes, me. I was a cheerful child. My parents took me to playgrounds, and I had the opportunity to play with other children. I had all I wanted, and a family that loved me. I always looked up to my dad. As an architect, he designed beautiful houses and buildings. On my 19th birthday, which I celebrated in grand style, I had good news. I was admitted to a renowned university to study architecture. All things looked rosy for me until one day I met Eunice. Eunice came from a very wealthy family. She and I met at the university. We sat next to each other during matriculation. We spoke at length during break and exchanged contact details. That was the day everything changed for me. Eunice was involved in drugs and alcohol. I allowed Eunice to influence me, unfortunately. I began to spend all my study time partying, drinking, and taking drugs. When the money I received from my father was no longer enough to indulge in my abysmal activities, I began to steal. I stole from my father, my mom, and my relatives. I also had to lie several times to my parents about books I needed in school, fees for extra classes, field trips, and so on. I continued this lifestyle until the money was no longer enough. I dropped out of school and used my tuition fees to fund my addictive habits. One day, my father decided to pay me a surprise visit in the hostel. My father entered my room and saw me using drugs. He was very angry, but I was also angry because he was supposed to tell me, right? I was living on campus, so my dad had no idea I was using drugs, and I only communicated with him through phone calls and emails. My dad left my room after our argument, and he was very angry for the activities I had involved myself in. He asked me to come home, but I didn't because I was not ready to confront my dad again. I spoke to Eunice about what had happened. She told me that her family also found out about her drug use, and they had decided to take her abroad so that they could watch her carefully. I, not knowing what to do, went to my parents' house. My dad was still furious and he reprimanded me. I got angry and banged my bedroom door behind him. Before my family woke up the following day, I had left the house. My parents were very worried and tried to reach me on my phone several times, but I did not respond. Everyone close to me called my phone, but I did not answer either. Later on, I switched my phone off. My dad decided to report my disappearance to the media. My disappearance was announced several times on television stations, radio stations, and was all over, but I did not return. After 6 months had passed without my family hearing from me, a stranger called my dad and informed him of my whereabouts. My dad was informed that I had been beaten and was lying unconscious at a secluded place. My dad rushed to the place and found me unconscious, with a big cut on my head and blood oozing from my face and legs. My dad rushed me to the hospital. I fought for my dear life for several weeks. After the 4th week, the doctors discharged me. My dad settled the hospital bills and drove me to the house. When my dad and I had gotten home, I knelt down and asked him for forgiveness. I told my dad that I had regretted indulging in drugs, and due to this habit, I disrespected him and made everyone worried. I also told him that I had heard of the announcement concerning my disappearance, but I wasn't ready to come home yet. I continued to tell him that I had lived on the streets after I had left home. As I was living on the streets, I met a gentleman called Nana, who later became my friend. Nana stole drugs from a notorious drug dealer. Unfortunately for me, Nana lied to the drug dealers that I was the one who had stolen the drugs. That was how come they beat me and left me fighting for my dear life. I promised my dad that I would change to be a better person. My dad accepted my apology, and in a few years later, I became the architect I always wanted to be, and I changed my life around. There are periods in our lives we feel we have been given a second chance. When we are blessed with one, we should take advantage of it. Thank you for listening to my story. See you next time in the next video. Bye.